Well, I'm going to the city and I'm gonna do a silly show. And I know all my fans wanna learn how to make some dough. I've been cruising up and down for trades each and every night. And with my iPhone reclining, I know we're gonna get it just right. I'll get inside your mind, we'll have a real good time. We're gonna trade today, we gotta trade today. Go askSlim.
Hi, I'm Steve Miller. Call me Slim. And this is the askSlim Market Week. It's a look back at what happened in the financial markets in the past week. A look forward to what might happen in the next week. And hopefully, lots of great ideas and opportunities for you throughout this show. Well, the stock market eased back a bit in the last week, and that was after 3 weeks of big gains, with the S&P 500 gaining 8.5 points off of its June 3rd low. Economic data still looked quite weak as we kept getting a lot of news this week. Consumer confidence had a big drop. Home sales moved down quite significantly, much weaker. And orders for durable goods were also really weak. The Morgan Stanley came out and they talked about corporate confidence and how that is plunging. Eurozone also showed weak inflation numbers, and got to wonder if that's good or bad news, because the Eurozone now is readying more stimulus, and of course the FOMC here in the U.S. has got their finger on the trigger to cut rates or do who knows what. Political news was mixed, really. The geopolitics always affecting the market, and Russia warships, they docked in Cuba. That's kind of a big one. Remember the Cuba Missile Crisis, and they're talking about they're responding to the U.S. buildup of military in Europe. Iran came out and said diplomacy is over, so we're not going to be making any deals with them. Of course, have we made good deals in the past? And they're all watching President Trump and Xi at the G20 meeting, waiting for news to come out, and the stock market is acting like that news is going to be favorable. At least they're hoping so. Mnuchin came out during the week and gave the market a temporary lift, as he said that the deal was really 90% done. But then the market moved down again later in the week when China came out and said that they're going to give President Trump the terms for the trade deal. Well, that means that probably that 10% they haven't agreed on is huge, and there's a lot of things in there that are going to be a problem getting agreement on. The market is really much less responsive to trade news right now, and that makes sense since we've seen so many reactions to that, especially upside reactions every time there's a whiff of good news about the trade deal. So maybe the market is going to pay less attention to that right now. If there is no deal this weekend, well, it's possible we're going to see a lower opening come on Monday. But if the news is more like, well, they're still talking, well, that gives hope for a deal, and the market will probably be okay. We're going to show you later on in the show why we think the market is okay as we look at our short-term view for the coming week, and we'll highlight the stock market in there. And we think that there is higher prices ahead. I'll speak more about that. The big show for the week, I think, was in Bitcoin. It's been on a roll, especially since Facebook came out and they announced their Libra coin going into their own cryptocurrency. They're going to get a ton of pushback from world governments about this, because Facebook, if anything, has a chance to upend the fiat currencies that are out there, or give a lot of ways to bypass them in huge transactions, and a currency for billion plus people that use Facebook. So they're going to get a lot of pushback on that. But also in that kind of news, Goldman Sachs came out and said they're looking at using blockchain technology for to digitize their assets. So the the Bitcoin market, cryptocurrencies market, has taken that as bullish news about acceptance. Truth is that all of that is competition for Bitcoin, and at some point, the euphoria that we're seeing right now is going to end, and it might have already. We're getting massive swings right now in Bitcoin. We saw Wednesday up 1,500 plus, Tuesday down 2,000 plus, closer to 3,000. Friday gaining $1,000 in Bitcoin. So these are untradeable, unreal moves in there, bull market or bear market, each day that we're seeing. And I want to share a little bit about Bitcoin with you right now. Just take a quick peek at our cycle analysis on these charts. This is the Bitcoin futures chart with our weekly analysis on it. And we thought there was going to be a summer rally and a bull hook that you can see right there is what we expected. There's no way we expected it to get past 8,000, 8,500, but this was a very bullish occurrence right in here where it rallies through this whole cycle that you can see. This is where the low was anticipated, and we thought it was going to get down into this fib extension target zone, and it did so with this low at 31.20 right here. The year before, we said it was going to give up 80% of its value, and it did, and we still think there's a huge shakeout coming in cryptocurrencies overall. But the thing I really wanted to look at was this major 61.8% right at 1,400. Man, did that nail it? And it looks like that would be the end of it here. If it does get past 1,400, then there is something going on that, well, is way different than anything that I say that I understand. And maybe that would be all about the fiat currencies that we have all over the world, and the fact that maybe there's a huge distrust in money as we know it, in these currencies as we've had in this system since the early 70s. So no credibility really in the paper money that lives around the world. And if we see Bitcoin over 1,400, it's going to be a significant occurrence and may have a much bigger meaning than we really believe. And what does that mean? It means a lot for gold. Now, we have been very bullish on gold, and we have added to our YouTube channel a video that I did looking at the big picture of the dollar and compared to gold, and that was from end of April, so 2 months ago. It gives a great picture of the analysis that we do, why we were positive in gold, why we're negative on the dollar. I really encourage you to use it. If you're not, if you don't follow us on YouTube, please do so, and take a look at that and then give us a thumbs up. You'll learn a lot about cycle analysis in that video. I think it's really valuable, so take a peek at it. And the charting method that we use, of course, is extremely rare. The stock market, well, it was a modest decline really this week, and likely in our opinion and our analysis temporary. Thursday brought an interesting action in the market, and continuing now on Friday. The small caps, the Russell Index, Russell 2000, they've been laggards. I mean, they've been looking absolutely terrible. And all of a sudden they caught fire. Now, part of this might be because of the once-a-year rebalancing that's going on in the Russell. And something else, it just might be a tip-off that the speculative phase of this bull market, which is typically the end of it, is starting right now. If we get through this G20 meeting without a big decline, then I think that the stock market's going to move up pretty sharply. In fact, our near-term target for our intermediate analysis, so that's over the next couple of months, is first stop 3030 in the S&P 500. So that's basically what we're going to be looking for. I'm going to show you those charts coming up when we get into the end of the show at the short-term view. And we think that the market has got a much higher probability in this near term of moving up pretty sharply. There's a caveat here, and that is that the archaic, and you might call it archaic or worthless, Dow theory, once you get a new high in the Dow Jones Industrials, which is pretty close to happening, we're going to have a non-confirmation in the transportation average. So that might mean that the trannies are signaling that there is a huge disparity in our economy, and what's moving the broad indexes up, well, is invalid. That would mean, as we believe, that the rally that we're getting and that we think is going to extend in here may not last all that long, and may be an important top that's coming. In the meantime, we want to be long, and we think that the market is going to be moving to the upside again after this little rest that it's having. More about that later. Stocks for the week fractionally lower, though the Russell, the strongest, is around unchanged. The bond market, 30 years, up about 3/4 of a point, and those yields continue to fall, with the 10-year down about 6 basis points on the week. And the yield curve, 6-month to 10-year, is inverted by about 11 basis points. Of course, that is what is a reflection of a condition that does bring slowdowns or recessions in the market, in the economy. Gold gains $12 on the week. Silver fell about 8 cents. Take a look at silver. I think it's ready on the short term for a pop to the upside also. Dollar unchanged, and we think the dollar might get a period where it can rally, and that's going to bring us a buying opportunity in gold somewhere in the near term. Oil, still strong, really strong. Hardly gave a downtick this week, up $1.80 on the week, and it's up at some resistance area. And again, I'm going to show you that in our short-term view. That's the end of the first segment here. Please do follow us on Twitter at askSlim, and go to our YouTube channel, watch that video, make sure you follow us, and give us a thumbs up on this video and the dollar gold video. Help you find those exceptionally valuable. I'll be right back.
Here come the best stocks for the week. These are stocks that had big rallies, usually driven by good news. Watch as Slim shows his cycle analysis and discusses if there are more gains to come, or if the odds are high these upside moves are selling opportunities.
All right, here's where we do the best and worst stocks for the week. I do this every week. We look at the best 5 and worst 5 for the week. Some of those are big upside moves, and some of those are more about opportunities that are there that I think are important. I always want to share things that I think are actionable or really at important levels. And we're going to start out by looking at the best stock for the week, and maybe the one that influenced most of the moves in here for the best stock of the week, and that is Micron in the semiconductor category. I'm going to show you of the 4 of the 5 stocks we're going to look at are in the technology category, and one of them is in the solar category of something that I think is ready to pop. So best stock for the week, Micron gains 14% for the week. Earnings were good, and the stock does move sharply. Analysts upgrade it, and we would say that this stock is running into a problem area. So you can see in here our cycle analysis. So each of these big arcs down here are cycle brackets that are the dominant cycle, and the small ones are minor. So you can see in here the minor cycle, which is right in here, and the second minor cycle right in here. And this is where the bottoming area was. Typically what happens is that velocity goes down when you get into the area where it's curling up and getting ready for the upside move. But right now we are in this area right here. We call this the sell zone. The reason it's a sell zone is because the decline in here got it down to 78.6%. So to us, after this sharp move to the downside in the correction, it's going to have a hard time getting through this level. It seems to us that 40 on the upside is about the best you'll see, though if the market pulled it up, you probably could get to about 42. So I'm not excited about buying this one. Analysts upgrading it, earnings really good, but that's after they had sharply downgraded their earnings before. So they beat reduced earnings. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, and we think that it's kind of a problem area for it there. It's not one of the stocks that I would chase. I think there's better ones. Western Digital, similar. It made this basing cycle where it slightly closed this cycle above where it began, But again, this was a big decline. These are upper resistances. We could see that this one dragged up by Micron. Analysts upgraded, but they're really mixed in this stock. We see this area of about 51 is the top of the advance right over here. Again, not overall a great pattern by the depth of this decline right over here, but certainly gave up this big declining momentum right here. So the directional movement changed in here, but still not giving us a sense that it can really do very well. NVIDIA is the next one we're going to look at in this category, and lots of people trade NVIDIA. Now, this big NVIDIA upside move in here where it traced positive cycle after positive cycle after positive cycle after positive cycle, made the high, gave the sell signal right over here, and then broke that key low. That told you that the uptrend was over, and then it collapsed. This was all about Bitcoin and crypto mania and their chip that was in such demand, and this is when cryptocurrencies got annihilated. So this went down with it. Now again, you have this basing cycle right in here. We had this as a shorting zone based on this pattern, similar to other patterns I've shown you right in here. We removed it. One of the reasons we removed the sell zone right there is because there's been such big interest in crypto and blockchain right now. This has a shot to get up here, 169 to 180, we'll call it, in this upside trend. We're looking at this cycle bottom here occurring, this rising phase occurring, and we're going to look for some better prices in here. We think that the bias in here, being this is only 4 weeks into this advance, is still for the near term on the upside, and we would say that long side biases are warranted. Wedbush came out and they're covering it now and saying outperform, but AMD has just announced a competing chip, so that might hold it back some. Again, we see it moving up to 169 to 180 over the near term where that resistance is, and I think a long-term bias is warranted. The last one in the group is applied material in the semiconductor material category. This chart is great. Now, the probabilities of taking out this high were 75% at least, based on this really strong positive formation. Look how it hit our buy zone. Look at the timing right in here that was perfect and moving up. These are resistance targets, depends on what you're looking at, 46.75, 48.90, and a likelihood of about $52 in here. We think over this next month or two, it's likely you're going to see sharply higher prices here in applied materials. Liking that one a lot, and you can see all of the information you have in here. When this cycle right over here came down and made that low and rallied, and this low was a little bit lower, it said that the rally would fail, and you could see our sell zone in here, and it didn't even quite get to it. This time it went through the intermediate sell zone and kind of failed right there, didn't give you much downside, and started to move up again. When it lengthened to the right side of this cycle and only had a short time to correct, it told you it was becoming a more bullish stock. That's the advantages of cycle analysis. Please go to askSlim.com, look at our cycle analysis workshop. We have a great introduction on there, 20 video modules. You'll learn all about this style of analysis. You'll never look at charts the same, I promise you. Applied materials looking great to us, and we're looking for more upside in there. So this is, I have a couple maybe favorite stocks of the week, one in this category and one in the worst stocks for the week. First Solar, FSLR. Now this stock gains 4% on the week, where the Micron and Western Digital had 14% gains, NVIDIA 6% gain. Applied Material 5, this was the lowest one, 4% on the week on the upside. You see the major resistance zone right over here? Now, a lot like what I just showed you in Applied Materials, this beautiful cycle right in here, it's even stronger than what a normal basing cycle would look like. This corrective period right here where these nesting areas are, it could barely bring a decline. It's similar to this cycle right over here or this cycle right over here where it could barely bring a decline and then explodes to the upside, This one just getting started. Targets right now for this stock, 73.15, around 78. Stock is 65.5. I think there's a good upside potential. I'm long the stock, full disclosure, and I do think that the stock has got big upside potential. Usually when I say big upside potential, I probably have a position in that stock that's long, or the opposite when it's short. I'm going to show you one more of those. I think that the breakout is here, and this one 2 weeks ago, Goldman Sachs upgraded the group. SunPower exploded to the upside, and CSIQ looking okay, but First Solar to me looks like it could have a very large move to the upside. That is the biggest or best for the week, and I'll be right back and show you, well, some that aren't so good.
Coming up are the worst stocks for the week. There are some real stinkers here. Some of these are breakdowns or extending losses in really bad chart patterns, and some present great buying opportunities. Watch as Slim makes that all clear to you with his very unique analytical style.
All right, so for the worst stocks for the week, I'm going to show you some stocks that are bad in here. I'm also going to show you some opportunities, and one of them I think is a very good opportunity, and you will see as I get through these. Again, cycle analysis, we're looking at the heartbeat or the rhythms of the market. This one is very interesting, BlackBerry. BlackBerry became a very different stock. The company went from, of course, handsets that had a unique setup to them because they held on to their keypads for such a long period of time, the physical keypads. Then the stock was reborn, and the company changed to be far more internet security and a whole different type of company. Now, everybody thought that was great, and so did I. And the pattern in here was beautiful. You can see this base that formed right in here. But look at this. This is bizarre. Their earnings came out good. The problem is, after the strong earnings, they're criticized heavily because they use non-GAAP metrics. The SEC is all over them on that, and they claim that using GAAP metrics and non-GAAP metric combination was okay, so they're not in any violation. And I think that investors are just worried that they thought that they had to try to pull the wool over the investors' eyes, and we got a breakdown right in here. This is a problem right there, and it points to a decline all the way through October. This could be anomalous, I have to tell you that, and based on this weird reporting that's going on right now. If investors get a sense that, well, it was false, this might have just extended out, and the stock would then have to get over 907 to be positive again. In the meantime, I really got to put the caution flag out there. If you've liked this stock based on the way that the company has changed, I think it's got problems. Talk about having problems. Take a look at ConAgra. This is almost the same pattern. Of course, a whole different world that they live in, and packaged foods. And this stock got a breakdown right in here. So you see that tail under the breakdown? Whenever that happens, it makes me question if it's just a horrible breakdown or maybe just a little fake there. The pattern's not good. It was a failed cycle where you got this beautiful setup right in here, and then it rallied. Now, it's supposed to take out that high right there, but it didn't, and then came and took out that low. At least 80% of the time, that points to the downside after that. So when I see this kind of pattern, I have to be bearish. Notice positive configuration, bullish. Positive configuration, well, it challenged that low and looked like it was rolling over. Then the next high wasn't as high, and it broke that low. That's the same thing as right here. You see that? Where it broke the low, and it was done with, and then collapsed. I wonder if that's going to happen right in here. It's a bad pattern, and you have to be very concerned about that. Earnings miss, sales really weak, and analysts are, well, slightly downgrading the stock, and this looks like it could be a stock in trouble. So the next one is the one that I say is about ready to do something important. So here you can see something that's really cool. you see this positive cycle that formed right here. When you see that green arrow, that means it's a positive configuration. It bottomed in this cycle above where it started. So that's how you define an uptrend. Look at the next cycle. Perfect timing. So follow this. The bottom is the timing based on the cycle brackets, which are just a guide, and the top is how it actually traded, which are positively configured. You can see that, and this one gave up a lot of ground. But then it exploded to the upside on its earnings report. I'm going to show you this in the daily chart also. And now is pulling back. This is a flag pattern right in here. The probabilities are high. Now again, in the cycle workshop, I show you how cycle analysis causes these patterns to form. Now, this flag right over here is being formed by a chart, by the daily chart, not the weekly chart. And I'm going to show you that right here so you can get an idea of what I'm looking at. The stock explodes up, hits this target zone right up here, and then pulls back. Do you think it's over with? Well, I don't. And here's why. Here are the shorter term cycles in here. And this cycle right in here, so you could see these nice rhythms in here, that you made the low here and then it exploded, and you see the big upside gap here and where momentum turned positive. So the momentum is still positive and it moves into the slim ribbon and to the top of the buy zone at this point right in here. So a little bit of a cycle lesson right now. I'm going to go back and show you this right in here so you understand this. How a flag forms is that this rally phase that you see right in here on the cycle goes into a small correction. That correction is right in here on the daily chart. So this decline right over here and this decline are the same. Once this is done with correcting right in here and you get into the new rising phase, and especially when that happens near a buy zone, the stock can explode to the upside. So that's really what it's looking like to me, like this flag is about to end and that it is about to move up. So this upward power that you had right in here is about to take over again, along with this rising phase. And that's a high probability of getting back up into the target zone right over here. We're looking at the weekly on the left, we're looking at the daily on the right, and you can see in that analysis, it points to a big upside move coming again. I am long Sienna, and I initiated the long in the last couple of days for this reason. It's ahead of it. It still is in a period of positive momentum, and I actually love it when you have positive momentum and the projection oscillator is oversold. It tells you that it is internally correcting, and the odds again likely to see that it's moving up again pretty sharply. A Sienna consolidating, I say it's a buy, and my position says so too. Cisco, the next stock we're going to look at in here, and I'll just go back to the weeklies. This is a good pattern that is becoming worrisome. Here's what's worrisome about it, and that is that you're in this rising phase. You see that right here. It's supposed to take out this high, and it did, but it's failing. And you see this week right in here we're in now, it's engulfing. Now, when that happens, it usually means that that stock is done for on the upside. And that any rally that you get following this will probably struggle at that 58 level. If you take a look also at the daily cycle patterns right in here, you can see that it's using the 89-day moving average for support, and you're in this area right over here where it should rally. This is a key area. Cisco down 4% on the week. This looks to us like it will be at an area where it's likely to move up again and test the high near 58, but that'll tell us a lot about the condition of the stock. Down 4% on the week. Sienna was down 5% on the week, and that one, of course, I love. Now, Google down 3.5% on the week, and this one's got problems. So, actually, I'm going to look at the weekly in here, and you could see the double top that formed in there and this massive engulfing. Now, this stock made its low right over here, and we had a projection in there that June of 19 would be where this low came, and there it came. Now, we got a rally, but you can see the rally kept it under the sell zone right over there. The reason it's a sell zone is because of the depth of this decline, And the next rally right in here is likely to fail right up here around 130. Well, it's failing already. I think if this stock gets a move back up near that 130 area, it's a screaming short. I think Google has had it, and I think that this double top right over here, I think that's a major top in this stock. And the fortunes for Google, the ability to grow its earnings through its ad clicks, I mean, I think that period is ended behind it, and right now it's going to be kind of a market stock. And in this point, we look at this, and it really looks negative to us. So Google, a bad-looking stock. So in that best and worst stocks for the week, we showed you a stock that looks like it's ready to blast off on the outside for solar in the best of the week, and a stock that looks also like it's ready to do really well, that had a down week, setting up for an upside move, and that is Sienna. So try to give you a couple things that are actionable, and those are stocks that I think are likely to both have upside moves and perform well in this period ahead that I think is going to be a period of rising stock market for at least the near term. That's it for the best and worst. Be right back.
Next is Slim's short-term view for the coming week. Watch as shorter-term charts are used to project 5 major markets in price and time. And there is also an emphasis on momentum to help keep positions set with the highest odds of catching the biggest short-term moves.
All right, I'm going to get into our short-term view for the coming week in just a moment. First, I want to show you something. This is the first time that we have shown what I'm going to show you right now, and it's a new product that we have coming out, and it's now in beta. That is our Stock Index Report Daily Snapshot. So many of you get our Stock Index Report. That is a weekly report, and we give you great information for the stock indexes, looking at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Russell. Extremely comprehensive report. It was so successful, people loved it so much, but at the same time, we have so many users that are shorter-term traders, and they wanted more information more often. So instead, what we've done is brought out in beta, which will be for our level 2 members once we get out of beta, and you get a chance to look at it and review it. Then we'll be making some adjustments to it, and then it'll be part of our level 2 membership. Which is included with all of our 400 or so videos in there. And then everybody gets the level 1 information also that will have this. So I want to show you this kind of quickly so that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about as we're in this beta. We're going to be in this beta now for through towards the end of next week. And if you become a free member, if you're not an askSlim member already and seeing this, then you'll be able to look at this, and I'll show you that. So here's the askSlim website that you can see right over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the dashboard area that you see in the top right, and that's going to take me into the dashboard. So I'm going to look in the free account dashboard that you see right over here, and that is the daily snapshot beta that you can see right over here. And I'll open that up, and what you can see is that we kind of stack them up. They scroll for each day, so you can go back and reference what we've been looking at. I'm going to open up this beta snapshot that we have right for today, and there's on the top of it, you're going to read a description about what this is about and give you some idea on how to use it. And then you keep scrolling, and you'll see that what we offer in here right now, all you're looking at is the S&P 500. We're going to be adding in the NASDAQ and the Russell also. This gives you our short-term directional bias that you can see right over here with some explanation about it and the important levels. The upside overview, which you're going to have for all 3 indexes. And also the downside overview, which you will also have for all 3 indexes. and the key numbers. This is great right over here because this gives you the technical evidence. It gives you, for a few weeks or for several days, the trend condition, momentum condition, and what we call the reversal scout, which is an important new indicator that we're putting on there, or an adjustment to an old indicator that is really valuable. So you can get an idea for the trends, momentum condition, and reversal scout for each of those indexes. Then this is just super. What we're going to give you every day is looking at this 2-hour chart with important information on it, the support resistances for each of the indexes, and you'll be able to have those key numbers every day when you get in, looking at the 2-hour chart. And for even shorter term traders, we're looking here at the 15-minute chart and those key levels where we expect the markets to either turn around or blast through depending on how they act at those. So important key levels with those beautiful colored zones right there. And you will also see the daily analysis that we share, and with the Hull Moving Average Reversal Scout that's right in there. And this is a great variation to that indicator, which shows you really a good idea as to the directional component of the market and our cycle analysis. And the technical evidence comparisons, which is just gorgeous. You can see in here that it looks at long-term, intermediate term, short-term, and the near term, and also gives you our market condition indicator readings in here, which are extremely valuable. And of course, these great 2-hour momentum charts in there that give you a sense for these individual indexes, which has our market condition indicator right on the bottom. Can you imagine every single day all of this information that you're going to have in here? That beautiful picture right there of the graphics of the individual conditions of momentum and trend in there. For the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Russell. Just a gorgeous look at what that looks like right there. All of this information, which will come to short-term traders in our level 2 every single day. Phenomenal type work. We have so many new things coming on, and this gives you an example of the great work that we do. Please do become a free member if you're not involved in askSlim as a member right now. And then we're going to be offering a little special down the road for you to get a sense for the to continue to get this at a special rate while we're continuing to be in this beta and getting ready to launch. You'll have a great opportunity to use this on a daily basis for a very, very low price, and then continue beyond that if it's the value that we think it is. Please do become an askSlim free member if you're not a member right now. And if you are a member and haven't looked at this, well, it's important I think to do so if you have any short-term interest at all in the market. So that's a look at this great new Stock Index Report Daily Snapshot. If you have any questions on that, you can write to Matt at askSlim.com, M-A-T-T at askSlim.com, and he'll be able to answer all your questions about this great new report, daily report that'll be coming out. So that's it. That's a look at that. All right, so now we're going to get into the short-term view for the coming week. We do this every single week where we look at daily charts and the cycle analysis in the daily charts. We take an accounting of how we did in the last week. We missed light crude, and we did very well on gold and the dollar and the bond market and the stock market. Pretty good. So we're going to give ourselves about a 70 to 75% week in there, only missing the oil market. So now let's take a look at that oil market and see what we were looking at. So we thought last week that the oil market would rally and then come down towards the end of the week, and it would be a small down week. It's actually an up week of $1.80, as you can see right in here, as it continued to move up. This is a bullish occurrence that's going on, but still it's in this resistance area. Note right over here an upward turn in momentum. And that's happening late in the cycle. In other words, it's rallied for a long period of time. That says there's not much decline coming. We're going to look for the market to maybe give us a little dip and then move up. We'll call it a small up week. And this is better when the momentum in here turns positive. Once this projection oscillator gets a little oversold in here, the market will probably be moving up again. That's what we're looking for. Small down and then up, but still kind of hanging in a tight range. We're going to look at this area right over here, about 160.30 as the area that it will find some resistance. And this area right over here, about 157.80 is the support. So it'll be tight unless something comes out about Iran, in our opinion, and that is probably going to be the kind of range we're going to see, a tighter range for a while in here. Because you could see it's looking to go up for a while and then go down again, so in a little deeper correction. So we don't think there's a lot in here, and we're going to just look for a small upside move in the light crude market. The next thing we're going to look at is gold. Now, gold, we thought that would be moving in a kind of a choppy way and then dip to about 1360 to 1380, which would be a buy. And then it would be a small down week in there is what we called for. So this week, actually, we only get about half credit because it only dipped close and it was a small up week in here. So we're going to look for the next week to be a continued small corrective week, and a small down week is what we're looking for again. Momentum's still up. The slim ribbon is going to give it support, just like we said in light crude. This is only a little bit of time left for a correction, and then up again, pretty similar pattern. We think that we're going to raise our range in here a little bit because we think that now this 1380 area here to 1400 right in here is the buy range, those upper supports right there, and then we think it's going to be moving up again and potentially launching on the upside in here. So we think this is a strong buy period coming up right there. We're going to look for that dip to come and then the gold market to move up sharply. We're going to call it a small down week, giving us a buying opportunity in there. Next, we're going to look at the dollar dollar sign DXY. Here's that dollar pattern right in here. We thought it would be a small week, that it would be this low came prematurely, so that we didn't think that it would have made the low yet, and that if it tried to rally, it would fail. As a matter of fact, it tried to rally 3 times and then failed in there. And we still, we thought there was downside risk, and now we think the downside risk is starting to disappear, and that in the next few days it's likely to be bottoming and then moving up. This is a period of low velocity that you can see while it's doing that. Low volatility, if you want to call it that, is it's just below these supports or around the supports from the weekly chart. And we think that this bottom is coming and it's going to move up. And during this period of rally in here is when that gold decline is likely to come, and we think that's going to be that buying opportunity in gold. We don't think that there's much upside in the dollar, but we're going to look for it to have a small upside week in the dollar market. Next thing we're going to look at in here is the bond market /ZB. We thought it would come down and then move up. We gave it a range of 56 to 53.50. The range was a little tighter than that. So it hit 56 exactly 2 days in there, which was the top of the range we were looking for. And we thought it would be overall a small week and potentially a small up week, and that's spot on. Slim ribbon really holding this upward momentum, which continues to be strong. In our opinion, that's going to give us a bit of a tightened range that we're looking at. You can see the cycles moving upright in here, and that, in our opinion, is setting up for a test of the slightly above the range that we were looking at. See this 56.17 high right there? That's what we think we're going to test in there. If we're going to give the range of 56.16, and then in the following week is when the more risk comes comes in, and we think it's going to be moving down after that. So right now we're going to call the range 156.16 down to 154. That's the bottom of the slim ribbon right in here is what we're looking at. We think that'll support it. If it got below that level, it would be turning negative. Again, see right below that level at 154.04. So getting below there would be bad, and it would say that this is rolling over right in here. I doubt that's going to happen. So we're going to look for the slim ribbon to hold it in here, give us an upside week of minor consequence. Again, kind of a low velocity, tight looking pattern that we're seeing in there. So let's talk about the stock market. Stock market, we thought it would be chopping around and then have a dip, and that it would move down. The risks were into the holiday, the beginning of next week, before it started to move up again. Now something has changed in there, and that is the small caps are bid. And that is giving the market a lift, affecting it. Even when the NASDAQ looked soft today, the small caps were holding the market up, and then the NASDAQ came back some. It's, I think, an important thing to say, because we thought that the market was going to have a dip and then surge to the upside again. And with the Russell doing that already, it has us questioning what is going on in the market, and has us wondering whether or not that bottom is in place. We think the bottom is in place price-wise. We just don't know for sure if it's going to get tested, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So in here, what we were looking for was the market to continue down through the early part of next week, right over here, and then blast off around the 4th and move up again. Now, this low right over here, that has the potential to be an early low. Now, we could test it in here, or we might have already started to move up. And I only put this in here because of the action in the Russell, and I'm going to show you that in a moment. So I think either there's a small test in here and it moves up, and this area right here of, we thought it would fall to about 29.10 is what we said, and it got down to 29.13, so we missed that by only 3 points. In here, we thought the slim ribbon would hold it, or the 23.6, all of that support, and it's still the case. If we get a bit of a dip, or maybe there's some disappointment over trade over the weekend, we think it's a buy, and that the market will be moving up again based on these patterns. Now I'm going to show you the Russell, the RUT, and you can see what I'm talking about when you look at this. The Russell clearly bottomed already. It hit the buy zone right in there and exploded to the upside. So if you are unclear about which of those lows I showed you in the S&P 500, this has no reason for any confusion. It's moving up already and super powerful. This is a 20-something point move up yesterday. This is an 18-point move up today, and looks to me super strong. Is this related to the rebalancing going on? Well, I don't think it matters. Technically, it just is a super looking pattern. That points to this area up here about 1603. That's about another 40-point move in the near term, short term, up to that target zone. There's some resistance right over there at 1586, and we think that's a high probability it's going to get hit. So this is a bullish pattern. The only way to get rid of the bullishness is to break underneath that low, and that does not look very obvious to us. So this is a look at a very powerful pattern back to the S&P 500, and you can see in here where this low was made right over here is where the Russell low was made. Question is, do they pull back for a couple days? It's possible. And this would come and test the lows, test the slim ribbon, while the Russell gives a little bit of a pullback, and then they all move up together around the 4th of July. This is a bullish pattern. We're going to call a bottom likely in place. We're going to look for an up week next week. Even if we get a dip early in the week, we think it'll turn up again. You can see the positive momentum in there. That early low in this cycle pattern is significant, and getting the support in the middle of the slim ribbon is significant. The upward momentum is significant, and getting oversold in the projection oscillator while you're in this area right over here says the odds are high that you're going to move up again. So all of this to us looks super good. And given any kind of a pullback that we're going to see here in this period in the next week, we think it's going to be a buy. And we wonder whether it's not just going to run away to the upside again. Yeah, these are positive patterns in here. I'm going to listen to that. I keep calling myself bull bear agnostic. You heard me bearish for long periods of time when I thought the highest probabilities were there. And now I'm going to be positive because that's what the highest probabilities are. I hope there was a ton here in this show of value for you. Please do become a member at askSlim.com. Help our community grow as we bring tons of new things. We have to pay for those things so that you can get better and better information from us. And most of our stuff is not expensive at all, so please do become an askSlim member. And if you want to look at these betas that are coming out, the Slimulator is going to blow you away. Unbelievable. And we are very soon going to bring out the beta version of that, and you're going to see we're just limited testing it right now, and it's something like you've never seen before. So the Slimulator, an amazing thing, and we're going to bring that out pretty soon also. Become an askSlim member. Write to me, let me know what you thought. I want you to be so careful out there. It is so dangerous and so crazy. I'm always wishing you great trading.